Hi everyone. I This isn't really a planned video, and it's not scripted. I am literally just turning on the camera and talking to you. And there's been a lot of events going on surrounding MrBeast, and I do a lot of activism in my writing. I'm generally preoccupied with that. I'm in the midst of finishing my fourth book. Uh, I'm a sex worker and a BDSM expert on top of the research that I normally do. For a long time, I advertised that I'm a Gothic ludologist, so I combine Gothic theory with game theory, like video games, and I did that for a long time. But I started doing sex work and genderqueer studies and Marxist theory and other things that I combine that I can't even advertise on this website. I can't even link my website to YouTube. It'll be censored, so normally I'm not on here making content just because it's a place that is hostile to the kind of work that I do. I can't even click on my website here, the logos, because there are just certain things on there in terms of, I primarily write about sexual trauma and abuse, recovering from that. If you're going to write about those kinds of allegations, those types of survived abuses that people talk about afterwards, the reality being that oftentimes you can't prove the abuse that happened to you. You can only testify to it and hope that people listen and empathize with you, which isn't always the case under capitalism for various reasons I think are embodied best not just by MrBeast, but by people who are defending him in various shapes and forms. And these aren't always necessarily them saying that what he did is all right, but rather that he's unstoppable, and no matter what you do, it's just, as August the Duck here says, more MrBeast drama. And that kind of pissed me off at the time because August the Duck was someone who was making content in regards to cooking with Jack, mostly was this cooking channel where someone was a shitty cook and he was literally farming that guy for content. And I'm not defending Cooking with Jack because not only is he a terrible cook, but he's a terrible person. And I remember August the Duck sort of talking about that and being like, okay, I'm going to speak out about this and I'm going to stop making content about it, which is one way to do it. It's like, or you could keep, activism isn't like, oh, well, I'm worried that something might happen, so I'll stop. Activism is like, there are going to be consequences. You're going after people's bottom line. Of course, they're not going to be happy about it, especially if they're people who, through capital, are going to do unethical things to get that money to begin with. And Cooking with Jack is obviously kind of small time compared to someone like MrBeast. And Cooking with Jack is someone who seems to be doing fairly well for himself, whereas MrBeast is basically evil Willy Wonka and someone who had armies of lawyers and employees and people under his employ that are sex pests. And YouTube won't even let you talk about that kind of thing insofar as they will censor things and they will, I don't know if they block videos necessarily. Again, I haven't made content on here in a long time. And talking about these kinds of things, my channel isn't monetized anyways, so it is something that activists worry about, or people making content worry about. Someone like August the Duck, who's like, oh, okay, it's just drama. I'm going to stop talking about it, though, because he's just going to keep succeeding. He's untouchable. So what's the point? And that's basically what MrBeast said here in this video. MrBeast is censoring the truth. And there was some other sort of content that August the Duck had going on where it's like, okay, you're someone who's not only saying this about MrBeast, but Dr. Disrespect and how people on the left and the right in internet circles are basically not the level-minded centrist that you are, and they can't just see sexual abuse for what it is, and they have to make it political. Whereas you're just talking about drama, right? But when the going gets tough, you're the one who says, "Oh well, I'm just going to stop talking about it." And it's like people like that. I just don't have any respect for. You know, it's like, okay, um, we all have things to lose if we're middle class, privileged people, if we're white, and it's like that isn't a reason to stop talking about this kind of thing. You know, you don't have to, but you also don't have to spread misinformation, and you don't have to be like, oh, it's just drama, and you don't have to paint entire groups of people and put words in their mouth and say that the left is, and the left is a wide spectrum of political groups, and I can assure you that the ones that you're talking about, who are saying that, oh well, Doctor Disrespect is, you know, a piece of shit, but MrBeast's trans friend is okay, and picking and choosing is a centrist tactic, which is what August the Duck is doing. And I apologize if this is kind of rambly, but again, like I said, it's not scripted. And the reason I wanted to mention it is because August the Duck is very selective about what he talks about. And he's like, okay, MrBeast is untouchable. Also, leftist people suck. And apparently leftist people only go like so far, like as far as what we can even call that. Because if he was talking about someone like me, like, I guarantee you that, you know, I'm going to hold both sides accountable as far as that goes. Because, like, MrBeast isn't a leftist. His trans partner isn't a leftist. He wasn't doing this to be politically progressive. He was doing it to have a token trans friend who, as it just so happens, is a sexual predator that he was covering up. And honestly, at first I didn't know about those allegations, and I thought, okay, good for MrBeast. You know, I'd heard a lot of shitty things about him, but at least he's not throwing his trans friend under the bus. But it turns out his trans friend is a token sex pest, a predator. So that sort of takes all the shine out of those accolades. And it's like, no, Dr. Disrespect sucks, and MrBeast sucks, and it's entirely possible to, you know, do activism and still, if you have a large platform, you know, and someone like August the Duck is apparently struggling. But those struggles mainly have to do with not being able to make money, you know, and it's like, okay, so clearly the profit motive is sort of in conflict with being an activist, whereas someone like Dogpack 404 here, you know, has a large channel, not as large as August the Duck, and certainly not MrBeast. But one thing that happened here is like he's actually talking with people and not just being like, I'm a 22-year-old centrist white boy with an American flag hanging from my porch, and who acts like they fucking know everything. And it's like, I don't like MrBeast, but I don't like August the Duck either. And for those reasons, you know, it's like, oh, well, we can't talk. We'll just talk about this in the abstract. And I'll just give my hot take opinion and not actually like talk with people who are affected by this. And whereas Dogpack, you know, his videos are very informative, and he is very much, you know, he was an insider. He's a whistleblower, you know, and that is not a safe profession. People, depending on how big someone is, you can get killed for that shit. And someone like Dogpack used to work for MrBeast. He had ties with the company. As far as, if I had to guess, I'm going to say he's probably not working for them anymore. I don't know exactly the circumstances, because sometimes he'll talk about working with the company, and it sounds like he's talking in the present tense. So I don't know if he's still working with them or not. But at this point, I mean, there's no way. Like, he's blowing the whistle on them so fucking hard, unless he has some kind of ironclad contract where they can't fire him. But that's just generally not how that kind of thing works. You start blowing the whistle, the first thing they're going to do is let you go. But regardless of where things stand as far as that goes, he's actually interviewing people like this guy. I don't know his name. He cites it, Jake Weddle. You know, so he links to Jake Weddle's thing. I'll just click on it here, and
hey,
yeah. So he's
Thank you so much for being.
He's a stand-up comedian, and he's someone who used to work with MrBeast. And this guy, while working for MrBeast, was tortured. Solitary confinement. Has to do a fake video where they actually unironically torture him. And then MrBeast is like, well, we can't pay you for the whole thing because you couldn't make it all the way through, but we're just glad that you didn't commit suicide, that kind of thing. And it's like super fucked up. And that kind of thing, really, when you're watching this guy and he's crying for the camera and he's upset, it's like, my ex raped me. And the definition of rape that I use in my work when I describe sexual assault, but also emotional, physical, and spiritual abuse that has a sexual component to it, oftentimes, not always, is you disempower someone with the intent to cause harm to them. Because people who seek dominion and control over others, including capitalists or people who endorse them, which my ex did, is you disempower people so that you have control over them, so you can harm them. And my ex was someone who would disempower me to get me to act in certain ways, including having sex with them, including upholding my end of an agreement that they didn't honor, where all things seemed equal on paper, everything, provided all things are equal, it should work. But because they had a material advantage, they leveraged that against me in ways where they had power over me, and they could get me to do things. And you think they're not holding a gun to your head? Oh, they could throw me out, make me homeless. So when I watched Dogpack 404 talk to Jake Weedle, he's interviewing someone who was abused. And this was someone who apparently was relatively close to MrBeast, compared to some people. He was a friend of a friend by the sound of it. And this is a guy who's describing how he was being tortured and how he felt guilty about wanting to come forward and talk about this kind of stuff. He's not sure what's going to happen to his career. He's going after YouTube's golden boy, in his own words. He could get blacklisted. He doesn't care. He just wants to talk about it. All of my exes, after they abused me, they told me, don't talk about it. And don't do that. Just sweep it under the rug, So I totally understand, where he's coming from, where it's like, I see him hurt and confused after the fact. You get that phantom pain, and you're talking about something that's really traumatic, and it takes you back. I haven't seen my ex in over 2 years now. They're in the room with me right now, in spirit. It's like Frodo at Weathertop, They take something from you and you never get it back. So this is the kind of work that I do. A lot of it has to do with my own trauma, of course, but seeing someone like Dogpack talk with Jake Weedle and actually, he's not just riffing off this and talking about, oh, it's just drama and I'm a centrist and yakety yak like August the Duck does. And it's like, no, he's talking with this guy who's able to unburden himself of these things that he's wanted to talk about for so long, and you can hear it in his voice, see it in his face, like he's not faking that. It reminds me of Jonestown, The Life and Death of People's Temple, where you talk to the people who made that, were talking with survivors who would start crying when they remembered the abuse, and you're like, they're not faking that, they're not getting anything out of this. They're literally just getting up and talking about the abuse that they survived. And from one survivor to another, it's like, he's not getting anything out of this. It's deeply embarrassing. You're made to think that you're guilty. It's all in your head. It's all your fault. And someone like MrBeast, my ex, they had fuck you money from their dad dying, and it was dividends, and it would come in, and they suddenly became a very controlling person. They were already a controlling person, but they were controlling every aspect of my life, telling me what I could and couldn't do, where we would get groceries. I had no agency anymore. I couldn't decide where we were going to live, what we would spend time together doing. Every aspect of that was controlled by them. And it was controlled not as a business person the way that MrBeast does it, but it's the same exact idea where you have total fiscal control and you use that as a lever against someone. It's like, if you don't do what I say, there's the implication that things could go wrong. I remember, sort of saying, I think that you're not being truthful with me. I think that you're lying, to my ex at the time. And they said, oh, well, if you think that, we're going to have a problem. As in, I'm going to get rid of you. I'll replace you, which is what they did. And seeing that happen here, and it's like, this is, you don't have to defeat someone in a singular kind of event. It's like, and it's so easy for someone like August the Duck to just be like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna basically kind of state the obvious, but then also give up and just focus on myself and my channel. And it's like, he's talking about other people as well, but it's like, you're going from someone who's talking about whoever the hell this person is to MrBeast, and then Dr. Disrespect before that, and he's just kind of on his little fucking soapbox and sort of hand waving it and calling it drama. This isn't drama. If people are tortured, that's just torture, okay? It's not drama. We're not trying to just raise a stink for its own sake, but we're speaking about things that we survived at the hands of our abusers. And someone like MrBeast is an abuser. He's not just a rich boy who's censoring the truth just to do it. It's like, he is an incredibly abusive individual at a corporate, capitalist level. He's a capitalist. He is someone who has access to these kinds of things. Now, he's an earner as opposed to an owner, I think. But, given the amount of money that he has, there's no way that he's not invested in various things at this stage. You can't have close to $1 billion or, hundreds of millions of dollars at this point. It would not surprise me that he has that much money without tying it into some form of capital. Capital being like a structure that you move money through. It's not a pile of money. It's a means of generating more money. That's what his platform is. It's owned by, YouTube. But we're talking about someone who has to have money in stocks, who has money invested, who probably owns various places, and certainly people in his pocket at this point. And it's like, there's plenty of other shit that I write about too besides fucking MrBeast, who's basically an evil Willy Wonka. And there are plenty of other people, and it's like, I write about the system, and I write about sexual abuse and allegations, and I specialize in consent, non-consent, and theater that helps victims overcome actual trauma through forms of calculated risk that are entirely non-harmful, sex positive. So my activism is more literally therapeutic, but also academic, educational, but seeing someone like Dogpack talk about this and actually do some real activism and not just sound off and say, oh, I'm a centrist and I think I know everything, even though I'm 22. Like, I respect this kind of work much more than the kind of stuff that August the Duck does. I think August the Duck sucks, honestly. He's the kind of person, he's a chudwad. He's a 22-year-old dickhead. And is he as bad as MrBeast? Well, he's complicit. If you start basically saying, well, there's nothing you can do, so why bother? And I'm just going to stop talking about this. It's like, okay, cool story, good talk, asshole. And I don't know. After I watched the Jake Weedle bit, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and I wanted to say something for a while, and it's like I'm juggling different things that I'm writing about that are difficult enough, like having gotten done writing about my own abuse that I survived, and trying to do that in a way where I'm worried about my own abusers coming back and threatening me, even though everything I say is just the truth as I know it, as I survived it. And I worry about that. I write about different issues and critiquing capital and holding it accountable all the time. Gaza and the genocide that's happening there. So it's like, I'm not always, I don't always, I tend to focus on, different issues, and something like this is admittedly kind of a small thing, but it's a small thing in a larger abusive structure, is what I mean. It's like the abuse that these people suffer is entirely valid. The abuse that all workers suffer, and they're sexualized and humiliated and turned into fetishes for the sake of profit, just as someone like MrBeast can say that he has a legacy, that he's successful. And then someone like August the Duck can be like, oh, it's just drama. And he has this smug fucking voice, like, and he sounds like such a fucking know-it-all. And it's like, dude, you're 22. Like, you don't know jack shit. You're like Mr. fucking Beast, where it's like, you're, basically you have this platform with however many fucking followers. Like, if we click on his thing here, he has 1.87 million subscribers. It's like, no, most people don't have that kind of security. And it's like, yeah, it's something he has to deal with in terms of it's a rough as guts platform, as my partner would say. It's a shitty place to work, but he's still working in the way that YouTube would want him to. He's not, and it's often arbitrary, the kind of things that get leveled against people like that. Like, there's so many things that you can say now that can get your videos flagged, demonetized, copyright striked, and it's like, so I don't even fuck around with that. I used to do video editing back in like 2012, 2013, and I was really into Ridley Scott's Prometheus, just for various reasons. I wanted to do a fan edit of it, and it was one of the first films I remember where they had this auto kind of, it was just flagged, and anytime you used any footage for it, it would get automatically flagged, even if it was fair use. And I spent all of this time trying to, work with stuff like that, trying to, it's like, no, this is transformative, it's like, it's a fan edit, that kind of thing. So I know that the platform sucks, and it sucked for a long time. But that's no excuse not to be a fucking asshole about this kind of stuff. And that's exactly what August the Duck is doing. And not just him, but plenty of other people too. CoffeeZilla, Penguin Zero, different people like that, who are complicit in covering up this kind of thing, because money defends money. You defend money, there's money in it for you. They're class traders. They're literally cops. They're running interference for those at the top or closer to the top, and they get favors. And those favors are generally just incentivized. Not even if they know the person. They'll just get recognition. It's just chasing clout. And it's not like they even necessarily know each other. But power defends power. They're just proponents of capital at that point. Now, you could say, oh, maybe they're talking about other things, and they're activists insofar as that goes. Yeah, sure, August the Duck had videos where he was calling certain people out, but they were small fish. He wasn't going after MrBeast. He talked about it for, a couple of videos, and then he's like, oh, I'm tired now. I'm tired. But also, leftists suck, and they're just foolish. We can't win against him, Gandalf. We must join Sauron. Like, really? So I just wanted to get that off my chest, I guess. This is a very unscripted approach to things. I'm just kind of speaking off the cuff here. But frankly, it's like, I'm in the midst of finishing another book. This will be book number 4. And I have more work after that to do. But I still wanted to say something. I wanted to say something beyond, like, if you go to my channel, I had a community section here where it's like, okay, here's me responding to August the Duck. This guy makes me wonder sometimes. I know he's a 22-year-old cishet white guy with a fairly big channel on YouTube, but comments like A, discouraging making things political in regards to discussing sexual abuse, and B, making it a both sides issue when talking about something like sexual abuse that, according to August, shouldn't be political, and when the people defending sexual abuse are more closely aligned than August realizes, both feel rather tone deaf to me. Like August realizes his own words are political statements, right? For the record, sexual abuse is wrong, and anyone who does it is wrong. I'm glad August at least gets that, but also his takes on the larger political discussion seem rather basic, not terribly well thought out or nuanced in regards to capital. Politics are bad. The 22-year-old kid on YouTube making 6 digits, the class character for August, am the voice of reason here. August, considering MrBeast and his token trans friend, the left, really makes me want to pull my hair out. They're capitalists ipso facto. The behavior surrounding sexual abuse and defense of profit reflects that. By extension, Trump is a rapist and a former president running for office again. Plenty of powerful men are protected by the system, especially if they make it money. Same goes for Dr. Disrespect, Kevin Spacey, or any other celebrity protected by the system. Money protects money. To summarize my thoughts, my comment on his video, quote, people on the left who argue for basic human, animal, and environmental rights, activists do actively care about the kids. If you defend sex pests, you're not actually left-leaning in praxis. E.g., MrBeast is a capitalist whose token trans friend is a sex pest, just like Dr. Disrespect is. It's possible to dislike both of those people, be political, and still care about the rights of kids, dude. I.e., 22-year-old centrists such as yourself aren't the only ones who do. You're making it weird, too, by implying politics is the same on both sides of the spectrum. The horseshoe argument. Unquote. So it's like, I'd thought about it then, and it's like, okay, I write that, and I don't have a channel where I get a very large, audience. I don't get any likes or responses on any of these kinds of things. And I have other things that I'm working on where I devote most of my time. But I'm like, I don't want to just have this little tiny thing in the comment section of my channel that probably nobody looks at. I would like to have a video or two. And again, my channel is very small. I have 710 subscribers and 75 videos. I have more videos than that, but they're made private or whatever. And I generally don't get a lot of views on my channel, just in terms of my videos. I might get 100 views or something like that. And a lot of the people who are watching are probably just diehard Ridley Scott fans or something, or post-colonialists. But if I get over 1,000 views, for me, that's a big deal. But I'm obviously not in this for the money, because the kind of things I'm talking about aren't advertiser friendly. And that's something that August the Duck is constantly thinking about, right? He's always worried about money, because, that's what he uses the platform for. It's like, oh, this is so hard for me, and it's like, I get it. You want to vent about that? That's fine. But also, you're saying some really stupid shit about things where actual people's lives are being affected negatively, and it's like, yeah, it's, there are more egregious and genocidal instances of abuse occurring elsewhere in the world. The global south is more likely to suffer these abuses by principle through frontier capitalism than someone like Jake Weedle. But Jake Weedle's story is valid. He's a survivor, and you can, he suffered domestic abuse where his own father is a sex pest that he had to live in the shadow of, and he had to live through that. And his mother was treated like shit by everyone around him, and nobody questioned his father. It's the same fucking thing that happened with me and my family, And these are real stories, real people. That's what activism is. And it's not just you being like, hi, I'm August the Dog. Please subscribe to my channel. I think this person is dumb. But also this person who's criticizing them, you really shouldn't do that. It's not going to do any good. And also, the right and the left are the same thing. Fuck you, August. Jesus. Also, I just want to say that too. Guy's a piece of shit. Is he a piece of shit compared to MrBeast? It doesn't matter. It's different degrees and flavors thereof. And I'm sure he has some videos where he says some things, he's a broken clock and he's right about a couple of things. And he is, he's like, sexual abuse is bad. But also, why speak out about it? It's just drama, bro. That's his approach to it. And then he whines about his channel, getting flagged or whatever, or age restricted. And he talks a lot more about that than he does about these abuses. his ability to talk about these things is limited because he doesn't try, because he puts all his fucking points into making money. Well, anyway, I think I'm gonna cut it short there. I wanted to get this off my chest. I realize it's not scripted. It's not the kind of thing that I didn't have any idea how long it would be, where I would go with it. I just kind of have this in front of me, and I feel for people like Jake Weedle. I feel for people that work under MrBeast, who's a powerful person who has total control over their lives, total material control. I've been there, and it sucks. In my case, if I didn't do what the person said, it's like I could be homeless. If I felt like I was walking on eggshells. I felt like I was trying to make my life better, their life better, the lives of my friends better. We could have had, everything and lived comfortably and made other people's lives better. We could have done, work to help other people. And then I realized I didn't need them for that. I didn't need the money. And that's what we're seeing with Jake Weedle. It's like it's not in his financial best interest to challenge capital, which for all intents and purposes is MrBeast and people who defend him, like August the Duck. It's really not in his best interest to do that, but that's what activism is you're standing up to profit. You're standing up to capital and genocide, and you're challenging these things in ways that are not going to help you financially, but they will help you sleep at night. And not everyone has a conscience. Some people don't. They're just cold-blooded for one reason or another. And that can be congenital, or it could be comorbid, or both. But it doesn't change the fact that, it's quite endearing and respectable, commendable to see someone like Jake or Dogpack talk about this kind of stuff, and to have that go viral, and even if it doesn't prevent MrBeast from doing what he does, you have to fight back. You have to make them uncomfortable, because otherwise they'll take, and they'll take. My ex took everything. All of my exes did, until I said no more. I don't want to do this anymore. You're an abuser. And then it stopped. And then I realized that, hey, I'm okay. I slapped a king. Did my hand fall from my wrist? So I just wanted to make that. In any event, thanks for watching. If you are watching, if you made it to the end of this very long ramble, but this is the kind of thing that I'm working on, and it's not, normally I'd write a chapter about this. I'd write an essay or something, but right now I'm already writing a book that's about, this kind of issue, combating sexual abuse. So it's like, if I'm putting most of my energy and effort, this is into that project, this is largely what I can afford in my free time. Like, this is just my time off that I'm making something like this. But it's important, people need to understand that this is something that needs to be talked about, even if there's no money in it. It's like, yeah, I understand revolutionaries need to be able to keep the lights on, absolutely, but if you compromise your political values to keep said lights on, then you're not actually being a revolutionary. It's bad praxis. You're just a cop at that point. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see how things go in the future. I don't like to do these kind of videos. They're draining. They take my energy out of me. It's already a lot of energy writing, but I have a couple other things planned. Things that are a little bit more light. But who knows? Maybe I'll do some more of these. It's cathartic. It hurts. Like, just talking right now, it's just, there's a tightness in me. It is draining to some extent. But until then, regardless of what happens, thanks for tuning in, and take care.